Hi, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show, and it has a bill in it, too. The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. Write that address down because if you're going to need something to clean up from the winter storm coming up, you could head to Omni True Value Hardware to get your mag ice pellets and flakes, your Petalo calcium chloride pellets, your Omni Melt, and of course they are Long Island and one of the largest in the tri-state area provider of rock salt. And they've got shovels, spreaders, snow blowers, and even a generator in case you lose power. So Omni True Value Hardware is the place to go. 631-756-1125, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. And as I said from the at the beginning, we are delighted to have Bill Korbel. Many of you on Long Island know him from News 12 Long Island, and also many of you should also know some of the folks that are maybe slightly older will remember, present company excluded. Remember Bill from his days, his many days at WOR Radio 710
Yes,
in
sir.
New York City.
And Joe Rayo over there too, who I think I met through WOR. Somehow.
Yes.
Weren't you a weather watcher or something? I don't know.
Bill, you and I, I don't know how you, I'm sure you remember this, when you had moved over from CBS to WOR in January of 1977.
That was a different Bill. I'm not that old.
And
none of us are that old, right?
They had a goodbye / hello party.
That's right. That's right.
In Fort Lee,
yes.
New Jersey. And it was Bob Harris was moving over to CBS from WOR, and you were moving from WOR over to WCBS to WOR.
Yeah.
So there you are, and we met at that that little gathering there of the WOR Weather Watchers Club.
There you go. That was such a bizarre thing because I wanted a WCBS job. They hired Bob Harris from WOR, so I went to WOR. And I said, "Sure, you can come work for us." And it turned out to be the best move of my life.
Yeah, you were there from say.
Then even Mr. Cioffi got involved for a little while.
Yes, I used to fill in for you when you took your time off.
Yeah, and I started filling in on News 12, and here we are.
I don't know if you remember, but Bill, but my wife actually filled in for you one
day
on a Saturday.
Yep. Renata did it once. Yep.
And I could never do that because I was on a competing station.
Yeah.
So I was banned from coming on WOR, even though I always wanted to be with the Gamblings. But you had a long run there from 77 to 94.
Yeah,
17 years, right?
I know, and then even longer at News 12, which surprised the heck out of me. So I've been very lucky. And you had a long run.
Well, yeah, the three of us are incredibly connected because we were all at News 12 together. Because I used to do the scheduling to see which one of you was going to fill in for me when I took off or anybody else took off.
Yeah.
But now here we are. You're on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Let me just really quick say Joe Rayo will be monitoring the chat board for any questions that you might have for Bill. Oh, Art Mochi is on. Artie's on. He's watching the show. Oh my God! Thank you, Artie. He's a big fan of all involved in the Joe and Joe Show. He's worked with all three of us, I believe. Yep. We've got the show has barely started. We've got 107 likes, which is terrific. So if you do like the Joe and Joe Weather Show, please by all means hit the like button. And also, the Joe and Joe Weather Show is on every night at 7:30, except sometimes Joe and I take a day off here and there. And we're on Sunday mornings at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Joe Cioffi, by just hitting the little subscribe button on YouTube, and you'll get notifications when the show comes on. So here we are, the 15th of December, and we are looking at for some areas. Did you know that in Philadelphia they have not had an inch of snow for, I think the number is 665 days. Wow. And if they don't, the record is 670 days.
Would you know it? They're going to get all the way almost to the record. And It's not going to quite.
Right, then they have to start all over again. I know the snow
Yeah.
lovers down there don't want to start that streak again. Uh, we the last big snowfall that we had here on Long Island, if you remember, it was the last of those four nor'easters back in March of 18, right? 18, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
March of 18, and that one I remember driving. I remember driving home. No, I stayed at the hotel that night, but I remember reading some messages on Facebook of people posting that it was quote puking snow because it was snowing out here at the rate of 4 to 5 inches an hour for about 4 hours, and I don't think we're going to see rates like that tomorrow night, but there might be a solid thumping of snow that occurs when that first batch of snow arrives, and I think the big forecast problem is going to be for the coast with respect to trying to figure. I'm having a really tough time with this one, and I'll tell you why. Uh, I looked through a number of the models, but particularly I looked at the high resolution European because I was trying to find where this warm layer is. Because whose phone? Nobody's phone. I just heard a phone ring.
No, no, nothing
No?
here.
Okay, never mind. It's okay. You can whoever it's your phone. You can tell them to deliver the food.
I'm just looking at all the people on the chat board saying that I'm the only one that's not doesn't have a beard.
Well, that's why you're on the bottom of that triple over there.
Yes.
You've got half of me and half of you there. I looked all over the place. I could not. I'm trying to find this warm layer because I pulled up the mosses, the mosses for the GFS and the mosses for the NAM, and
Mm-hmm.
they're all those mosses. Now we've in all the storms that we've dealt with over the years. I look at the precip type. It's all snow. I was looking at the probabilities for snow, and in both those models, at the lowest point it drops to like 69 or 70%. The surface temperatures at islip anyway barely get to the freezing mark and never go over it on the 3 hourlies. And the NAM gave 4 inches in one period, and then another coating to 2 in another period. It gave LaGuardia 8. So I'm wondering why those numerical models aren't picking up on it. Joe, you and I like to look at the Foose. I looked at the NAM Foose. It's not that warm. So I,
Yeah.
so I'm kind of confused, I guess, as to where this warm layer is and how much of it is going to
Mm-hmm.
penetrate inland.
Maybe they're just concerned about the fact that, when I say they, I'm talking about the National Weather Service forecasters or the forecasters who put out the snow maps for the Weather Prediction Center. Maybe they're just concerned about the fact that we're right next door to an ocean that's still very mild for this time of the year at about 50. And, any little bit of a turn of a wind from the east or east northeast will pretty much set the stage for maybe some mixing or maybe even an unexpected changeover. So, we'll see tomorrow. In fact, by this time tomorrow, the fun will be beginning in many areas.
Let me take you back, Joe, way back in history when computer models were just kind of kicking in. And what we looked at was the position of that high pressure area
Right.
to our north.
Which we've been
emphasizing.
Models,
yeah. And if you look at the models, as this thing approached, a little bit of the ridge started to move offshore. And if you look at the pressure pattern, that one was more easterly or east northeasterly than you need, especially as Rayo said, with the warm temperatures. And so I was looking at the essay, I said, this does not smell right unless it changes itself. And growing up on Long Island, too.
Right.
How often do these snowstorms do just that, go over the rain? And
right.
That was the tip off to me, just the position of the high where it was.
I think it's probably I think we could get away with it if this were January 15th.
Yes.
Or if it was February 15th. I mean, the high is actually in a fairly good spot. It's not in a horrible spot.
No,
it's in a good spot. But you're right. It's in the days ago when it showed how the surface high profile, the isobars were easterly or maybe even east northeast, so that the surface wind is going to be 04 or 03 in that situation.
That's good.
And now as we approach, they're more like maybe south of due east or east southeast on the isobar, so the wind is more 06, which is what the boundary wind is shown on the on the NAM. So yeah, that 10 degrees, that 15 degrees is probably where the difference is. My question is, the surface low is going to eventually pull out east of New Jersey, and you're going to have the wind go back around to the north. So this might be one of those instances where you go from snow to sleet. Maybe some places go to well, for Long Island specifically. For Jersey, it's a different story. But you go to some sleet or maybe a little bit of rain, and then it goes back to snow on the backside. This might be one where you might have something on the backside for several hours or more. But uh, I I was gonna wait until tomorrow morning to put a final call up on the snow map. Joe, I know you said that you weren't changing anything. I assume you didn't change anything.
No, I just kept the same map that I had yesterday because in my humble opinion,
And I'll
and
put that back up. Go ahead.
in my humble opinion,
Whoops.
8 to 12 inches for such a broad area that I mapped out or whatever, plus the fact that I mentioned even on my discussion today, we're going to have winds of 20, 30, 40 miles an hour. And once we get those winds cranking, picking up that snow, blowing and drifting all over the place, does it really matter with the drifts factored in if it's going to be 12 inches, 8 inches, 10 inches? I don't really think so. Even if it makes it up to 15 inches, it's just going to be a broad scale, massive, widespread,
Mess.
first class winter
Yeah.
storm. So, in fact, I even remember, Bill, I found an air check of you doing the with Roger Skiveness, believe it or not,
Oh, wow.
during the great blizzard of '78.
Oh, I was just,
and
yeah.
and you were talking about 9, 10, 11 inches. So he said, well, with the way the winds will be blowing, Roger, who's going to be able to measure it properly? Who really cares? And I agreed with that. I mean, eventually, people said they were like 15 or 18 inches of snow with that storm. But I mean, like,
Oh, no.
again, I mean, I'm seeing on television, some forecasters are saying that parts of the area could get 15 or 18 inches. I mean, really, you're going to get, I think we're going to see many areas getting at least 8 or 10 or 12 inches. Is that not enough? Plus the drifts factored in?
By
Well,
the way,
that's it.
by the
Yeah.
way, Joe, I accidentally had the wrong map that you made from a storm
Oh,
from last year. That's so that was
Oh, excuse
incorrect. I
me?
thought I saved your map from yesterday,
there it is.
and
Oh, that's
I
yours.
don't know what I did with it, so I have to
Oh,
find it. But this is what I massaged mine a little bit, so I changed it. And of course, knowing me, I have you guys know me well enough that I can't make things simple on Long Island. I have to allow for the Sunrise Highway effect. I have to allow for the Long Island Expressway effect. So I actually drew it. I drew my. I'm taking a shot here. So I drew my forecast based on the fact that um, the northern part of Long Island may struggle to get above freezing, and I went for 2 or less south of Sunrise, and I drew an 8-inch line along the North Shore, and then that stretches across New York City. But this is down from what I had yesterday. I was a little bit higher than this yesterday, but Joe and I have been saying how some of these numbers that have been thrown out,
Hmm.
being thrown around, were just utterly ridiculous.
Yeah. Even NWS went very, very heavy yesterday when I first saw their forecast, right?
Yeah, and
They went up pretty high.
they also massaged their numbers. I'm going to try and find your map, Joe. In the meantime,
if you
this
want me to
is
send it to you, I could resend it if you have any problems.
yeah. Go ahead and resend it, and I can pull it up on I'll pull it up off of Messenger if I can.
You know,
All right.
if I may, just an observation about snow reports.
Yes.
I came to learn over the years, you get the summary at the end, NWS puts somebody will stick a ruler into some snowdrift and it's going to be showing much more than is really there. So whatever you forecast will verify.
Oh, I
Someone will
understand.
verify it.
Right, snow
Yes,
envy.
absolutely, absolutely.
Snow envy. Here,
There was one storm. There was one storm about 4 or 5 years ago that in Yonkers we did have a weather observer of many years who came up with something like 14 inches of snow, and meanwhile, all of a sudden, in Yonkers also On a Nefferhan Avenue, somebody reported like 22 inches, and
Mhm.
another one 21 and 19 inches. And I mean, I know which one was the right or the correct one, and which were the ones who were sticking that yardstick in and measuring a snowdrift or whatever. So it's really not going to be. It's going to be a if you put it this way, it's going to be all the storms we had last winter rolled into one
Yeah.
and more.
Yeah. If Joe, if you go ahead and send it, I'll bring it up on the screen. So
Yeah.
what I did was I drew a line of 10 inches or more across northwest New Jersey. I brought it up to about your house, Joe. Then across Connecticut, just south of Route 84. General area of 10 to 15 inches. I have never been good at trying to pick out the top side number, but I'm staying below. That was another thing Joe, you pointed out last night about the NAM being overdone. What struck me about the NAM though was the fact that when I looked at the FOOS precip numbers, I expected I would have expected higher numbers than what it gave. It barely gave an inch of liquid,
Well,
which
last night on LaGuardia Foos, they gave 1.32 inches, and today they knocked it back on the 12Z to 0.92. That's about
Mm.
30% drop in the precipitation, the liquid precip from last night's run. And incidentally, I looked at I don't know if Bill has ever looked at this. We often talk about the FGen on the tropical tidbits,
No.
where they were holding back on all of the omega, all of the atmospheric energy on the GFS, and the NAM had it all across our area. And now finally, at the 12Z run today, they brought all of that omega, all of that energy over us on the GFS. Finally.
Wow.
And now, when I saw that, I said, "Well, there you go." It looked yesterday like it was heading just outside of the 40/70 benchmark. Now it looks like it's going to be on the inside, and that's also maybe why a lot of the forecasters are a little bit more leery about the possibility of mixing or a brief changeover, because you're going to have that storm coming rather close to us. In fact, by Thursday morning, it's going to be only about 100 miles southeast of the New York metropolitan area. So,
Yeah. That's the tricky part, because this one is paralleling. We're talking about Long Island. I know a lot of you are not on Long
right.
Island, you don't care about us, but this thing is paralleling Long Island. So it's like when a hurricane is making its way towards the coast. If it's paralleling the coast, the place where it can hit is very long. If it's perpendicular, it's much easier to figure out. This one means a little shift to the south, it gets colder, and you get more snow, and 20 miles north, it gets a little warmer. That's why this is crazy this time.
So Joe, you've got actually I kind of did what you did with the lines that you had on Long Island. So our maps match up very well now,
Yeah.
and you got that big area of 12 to 16. I also have a map that I do for New Jersey, and you can see the shore really struggles. And I think what falls along the immediate shore is going to depend on something changing over on the back side. I drew a 4-inch line from north central Monmouth County through northern Burlington, and then crossing over northern Delaware. Philadelphia is somewhere between 4 and 8. Trenton is closer to the 8 than it is to the 4. And then you start to get into the 12-inch plus amounts when you get more into south central Pennsylvania. Those areas are I'm going to be really curious to see how far north the sleet line gets, because a few of the models today were trying to bring that sleet line all the way up into northwest Jersey, which kind of surprised me that it was up that far north. Also, let me just very quickly, Brandon Doherty, Steve Lapointe, I always never pronounce it correct, and Rosendo Benitez, all super chat hitters tonight. Thank you so much for hitting it. Joe and I really appreciate it that you hit super chat, and we're got 226 likes, so let's see if we can get that number higher. And we're getting close to 700 viewers watching right now from not just the New York City area, but they're watching. We've got a lot of folks that watch from South Central PA, from Southeast PA, of course, New Jersey, even down Delaware and Washington, upstate New York and New England. So a lot of folks are wanting to know how much snow. And I've got the Weather Service updated snow forecast map. So they shaved the numbers down near the coast, and they shaved some of the inland numbers just inland of the coast. You start going north and west, and it looks like they they left them pretty much the same. The big jackpot area is eastern Pennsylvania from north to south, with the double-digit amounts there. Hudson Valley in the 10 to 15 range, Connecticut in a 10 to 15 range. The GFS, which was giving next to nothing in Boston, the Weather Service now, of course, with the models doing what they're doing today, the snow getting further north. Boston forecast to get 11 on their forecast, and even some 10-inch amounts down into parts of southeast Mass. So it's going to be interesting. I always learn as a forecaster, and I think both of you would agree with this. Every storm has something to teach you, and that there will be something that will happen out of this that none of us are expecting. I don't know what that something will be. We'll know it in hindsight, but they're all learning experiences.
Yeah.
Well, I said, Joe, I don't interrupt you, but I just want to reiterate last night. We finished the show, and we're finishing the show, and I mentioned to Joe, I said, and just think, on Friday night, you and I are going to be looking at each other and saying, well, we didn't expect that to happen.
Right.
Exactly.
It's always some kind of weird thing that happens that you don't anticipate in advance of the storm.
Well, that's what makes it fun, right? And I found myself over the last 5-10 years saying more often than not, wow, I never saw that before.
Well, how many of those storms that we saw in that stretch from 2000 to 2020? I think every single one of them. I mean, we had so many big snowstorms in that stretch, and there's so many unusual things that happened out of those storms. From the Snowmageddon storm in 2013, where I sat here basically in a snow globe going at 5 inches an hour. And
I remember.
And I drove 2 miles south because somebody wanted Chinese food in the house, and I went over the ridge that is on cuts Long Island out here in Suffolk County, and you go to the other side of the ridge, and it was all sleet. And you get down to the expressway, and it was still raining. And then I would go back the other direction, the 2 miles in the other direction. I'd go up the hill. As soon as I got to the top of the hill, there was like a curtain of white that I went through. And I get back to my house, and I had almost a foot of snow on the ground from that before Islip even turned to. And I live 2 miles north of the MacArthur Airport. I put a foot of snow on the ground before Islip changed over to snow from rain.
Yeah.
And then they wound up, slowly catching up. I still beat them by, I think they got 20 inches out of it, and I had 30. That was one of the more amazing ones. Snow down to the south, by the way. Washington D.C. is on the edge of this. They're forecast to get about an inch, 3 to 4 at Baltimore, and you see how the numbers pick up north and west as you go up into western Maryland and in northern Virginia. And snow amounts also extending down to places like Lynchburg, Roanoke, Blacksburg, and even down to the North Carolina state line. So this is and to the northeast, let's not forget, Timothy Veltman, one of our regulars on the chat board, Joe, he remembered back a year ago for the December storm where you were in heated disagreement with the forecast amounts from the Weather Service for up there, because the models weren't really showing that. And he says, would you please do that again so that he could wind up getting 30, because they're only forecasting 10 for Albany. And then the amounts do tail off a bit as you head up through New Hampshire and Maine, although the snow shield does get pretty far north. I'm going to bring up the Canadian satellite view because John Colombe on my subscription platform on Patreon, and he asked this question, and he says, if there's a 50-50 low and a cold high to the north, how can the low hug the New Jersey coast? And that's one of the thoughts that I had in my mind going into this.
That's the ensemble. The ensemble members of the GFS, of the European, and especially the GFS. If you remember back on Sunday, I was saying, watch out, because this thing looks like it's going to, the high is going to try to suppress this storm. And now in the last 24 hours, not only have they brought it closer, they've really brought it closer in. And again, the 100 miles southeast of New York City, I mentioned a few moments ago on Thursday morning, that's a combination of the NAM, the GFS, the European. And I said, wow, what a change from what we were thinking, or what I was thinking just a couple of days ago. I really thought this was not going to be, I thought this was going to be a major player in terms of delivering a significant snow. But now, with the storm coming so near, I mean, that's why you're seeing all these massive or crazy amounts being forecast. But one thing I think that is going to save a lot of places from getting, let's say, obliterated by 15 or 18 inches of snow is the speed. I honestly think that we're going to have everything happen in a 6-hour time frame from about 10 o'clock tomorrow night to about 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning on Thursday morning. And during that time frame, that's when it could conceivably come down at an inch or two an hour. That's when we're really going to lay it on. Before 10 o'clock and after 3 o'clock, we'll still be seeing snow, but it'll be much lighter in intensity. But it's during that time frame that we get into the best PVA or the best omega, or whatever you want to call it, the best vertical motion, that we're really going to start cranking everything out. And that combined with the winds, that's when we're really going to go to town with this storm.
By the way, I got on the Canadian satellite loop, the 50-50 low is so obvious, folks, and this is why it's so important, because if you look at how the clouds are moving in northern Canada, they're going actually southeast to northwest, while the flow in Western Canada is going northwest to southeast. So you've got this the high, the surface high, gets to build between the 50-50 low and the lower pressures, used all those clouds, the shortwave troughs that are coming in to the Pacific Northwest and moving southeastward. So the high builds in between those two, and that's your surface surface supply of cold air. This is a cold high. There's no question about the fact that this high is cold and supportive. But again, back to what you said earlier, the fact that we're in mid-December with the warm ocean is making it problematic, where it might not be problematic if we were a month from now in mid-January with the exact same setup, or certainly in mid-February with the exact same setup.
I want to ask Bill, because he's had Joe and I have had a very long history in broadcasting, whatever. Bill's gone back even longer than the two of us. And I wonder, Bill, at WOR or at News 12 Long Island, or even in your short time over at WCBS, did anybody, a news director or an assignment editor, ever come to you, let's say the day before a storm like this, and say, well, so-and-so is going for this, what are you going for? And, why are you going so low? Or why are you going so high? Has that ever happened with you?
I don't recall it happening. I know that now, unfortunately, with a lot of the media outlets, there is a push to be first, not to be accurate, to be first. And you start seeing things perhaps being forecast before they should, but they pretty much let me alone for some reason. And I can recall many times in News 12, they say, "We use the storm watch opening." I said, "No, these are just snow showers." So they were pretty good at the time to let me go with what I thought. No one ever really, I don't think I was ever criticized for a bad forecast. Bad presentation on air, yes. The wrong graphic or misspelling, yes. You get called into the office, but the forecast, no, they let me do what I wanted pretty much. How about you?
Well, you built up a reputation. You were not a, quote, disaster forecaster. Like
no.
I mean, there were some guys who would you chomp at the bit and say, he went for a big storm, like that, but he's always going for a big storm.
Yeah.
And you have to maintain that middle of the road continuity, so to speak.
And you know how that happened? I think it started, if I may. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. It started when I was in the Air Force as an air weather a weather officer, making forecasts for air crews, different kinds. And I discovered that they were pretty much going no matter what the weather, and it didn't pay to be overly pessimistic because they most likely weren't going to scrub the thing anyway. So I tried to be realistic rather than, oh yeah, there could be some strong thunderstorms there. Well, if they're going to be widely scattered, it's not going to be a problem. So I think that carried over. And I also don't like going big snow to little snow. I prefer going middle and adjusting it up or down as necessary. You start at the top, you got nowhere to go but wrong for the most part.
Right.
Well, it
Right.
won't matter because, as I said this to Joe yesterday, we could get the flake count right,
Yeah.
and we're going to be lumped in with all of those, everyone that was throwing out 20-inch plus numbers for the metro areas. They're gonna lump us into that group, and that to me is the most frustrating. Although
Yeah,
it's
don't let it
always
bother.
nice when somebody recognizes the fact that, hey, your forecast for, I was watching you during the storm, your forecast was, on the money or was very close, and et cetera, et cetera. So
Mhm.
you try and take you definitely take solace in the fact that those who listen know what's going on. And I got the U.S. satellite loop so we could take a look at this system coming eastward. Not too shabby looking, the presentation on the satellite, although there isn't a whole lot happening yet. From the standpoint of the radar, there's a little bit of moisture breaking out in parts of Mississippi and Tennessee, scattered back through Missouri and Oklahoma and Louisiana.
Joe, I hate to interrupt you, but we just got a super chats from somebody who we've been trying to entice to come on with us all these many months.
Oh my
A
God!
former
And
colleague of ours.
who is that? May I ask? Wait a minute. Let me see. Hold on. Okay, now I went to check the list here and it's not loading, so you're going to have to tell me because I can't see it.
We worked with this person at FiOS One. She has an alliterative name.
Not
B
Brittany Borer.
B, yes,
Our
Brittany Burr.
Brittany?
And she's not only on the chat board, she also get super chats, believe it or not.
Oh, bless your heart. Thank you so much. Yeah, so that, us poor old non-working folks can go out into the supermarket and get that can of tuna fish that we're going to be eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Thank you, Brittany. We most definitely appreciate it. Thank you very much. Seriously, she knows I like to bust chops.
Yes, yes.
She knows I like to bust chops. The WPC 7-day rainfall, by the way, and it's all front loaded because there really doesn't look like there's going to be much going on after this. Although, to tell you the truth, when there's ever a storm around, I don't really look at the long range at all, and I didn't today. So I'm just assuming that what I saw yesterday with regards to the long range, and this morning I kind of peeked at it going into next week, that it looks like it's going to be quiet for a while. But so everything you see here is from this storm that we're getting now, and the WPC folks generating as much as 1.5 to 1.75 inches of precip, liquid precip, in and around parts of the northern mid-Atlantic up to about southern New England. Big rains coming into the west. We've got this, these weather systems from the Pacific pounding the northwest and into northern California with several to many inches of rain over the next week, and some of that extends up into the northern Rockies, where it will be falling as snow. So next up, folks, Ruthless Goat just hit super chat. Thank you so much. And we also have one from Canada, Joe.
Nova Scotia.
Yes. Can you show the snowfall amounts for Nova Scotia? He asks. All right, that might take a little doing on my part. I'm gonna have to look. This is Benji Frenzy. I'll try and find something when we a little bit later on. I'll see if I can find something with regards to snow amounts for Nova Scotia, or we'll figure it out off the models. We'll give you our never to be humble opinions about what might fall up in Nova Scotia.
Well, I'm looking at that right now, Joe, and it looks like for at least until Friday night with this system, because it's going to take that long for the system to start affecting the Maritimes of Canada. But by, let's say, late Friday or Friday evening, it looks like for the western part of Nova Scotia, they may very well see a few inches. I mean, nothing that's going to be super or amazingly large. Unfortunately, from the maps I'm looking at, it doesn't go as far out in time for the eastern part of Nova Scotia. But I mean, like for a place like Halifax, for example, or maybe Yarmouth or Prince Edward Island, not a big storm, but maybe a few inches. It does, not a massive or monstrous amount of snow. At least that's how I see it right now.
Hey, I have a question. What's a
Yeah.
super chat? I'm kind of new to this group. What,
Oh,
what-
our audience, it's a tip jar.
oh,
It's a
well,
tip
there's a
jar.
money-making proposition?
Well, what do you?
Well, let's
You
put it
know,
this,
it's
put it this way. It's enough to provide us with a few
it's our
cups of coffee.
alcohol fund.
Yeah, we need that.
Okay, it's our alcohol fund.
Hey, you know who's
And-
going to be really happy? Skiers. You know I'm a pilot and I flew up towards Albany Friday. Not even any of the ski areas where they could have made snow had made snow except for one in the Catskills. It was
Really?
bereft of snow from here to Albany. Just amazing this time
Well-
of year, not to see even the ski areas with snow down.
Well, they're certainly going to get something from this for sure. Mark G and Brandon Doherty and Travis Maynard hitting super chat. Travis from Potter County, Pennsylvania. I'm not sure
Hey.
where Potter County is. We'll have to look on the map. I got
Does that have any-
WP. I
Does that
got
have
to.
anything to do with? Does that have anything to do with Colonel Potter from MASH?
Yes. Oh, and Jason Kaplan also hitting super chat tonight. Thank you so much, folks. Oh, here comes another one. They're going fast and furious now. PDQ hitting super chat as well. So thank you, all of you. Thank you very much for hitting the tip jar tonight. Joe and I really do appreciate it. Bill, you can you'll use it to buy some of your Korbel champagne.
There you go.
You
there
know,
you
which
go.
is, I'm sure what you're doing right now is managing your huge champagne business.
It's incredible.
You knew that
yeah.
joke was going to come in here somewhere.
Hey, I just saw a name on the chat going here. Barry Goldberg, a friend of ours. I think you know Barry. Maybe you know.
Yes.
Maybe you do. And he said that the hurricane hunter is going to be flying into the storm.
Yes, they're going in tonight to sample it. So let's see if that throws them if actually they were going to go in for 0Z, so it'll be on the next run of the model. So let's see if the comes out and the low's down near Jacksonville instead of being here. WPC, their updated probabilities of at least 4. And Joe and I were commenting yesterday, Bill, the fact that on their 72-hour forecast for at least 12, they were putting out numbers in Pennsylvania, and rightfully so, of 40 to 50%. You don't see that very often from WPC to show percentages that high.
No, this looks pretty solid. Yeah, this looks like almost, I want to say no brainer because no forecast ever is, but this one
Right.
sure is pointed out.
Well, certainly with what's coming in. This is the probability of 4. You see the dark red is 100% probability, and that covers northern New Jersey, the Hudson Valley, Connecticut away from the coast. If you want to use the blue, usually 50% is a good indicator of where the 4-inch line is going to be. And that is running across the North Shore of Long Island, over Staten Island down to Trenton and Philadelphia, and we'll jump off to their probability of 8. And this is kind of shifted up a little bit further to the north, but you know what? They still have a 50% chance of at least 8 out to about Wading River on Long Island, which is in east central Suffolk County, and then running southwest from there to southern Nassau, over towards Staten Island, to just north of Trenton, to just north and west of Philadelphia. So 50% probability of 8, considering what we're seeing on with some of the models, what some of the warmer models were showing. That I think is a pretty high number on their part. I'm not saying that they made it too high, but the fact that they put a probability that high, they must be thinking that maybe there will be enough cold air to be more important in some places to give a few spots an extra few inches that they otherwise wouldn't get.
If you scroll down, Joe, I know you always are showing the, I guess the computer generated or the fancy multicolored maps, but they also
Yes.
do hand drawn maps with probabilities in blue of 10 and green of 40 and red for 70%. And what really, got me, blew my mind today, I think on the day 2 prog for at least 12 inches or more, for the first time, and God knows, I don't remember the last time I saw this, they had a red 70% chance for 12 inches, at least 12 inches, covering a broad area of Pennsylvania and on into lower New York State.
Well, now they have a red within the red. I'm putting up the map for 12. So they've got a red within the red. So they have an 80 to 90%.
Wow.
I'm sorry, hold on. So the broad area of lighter red is 80 to 90. The darker red blotch in there is a 90 to 95% for at least 12. And if we go to just for laughs, because you don't see this too often, for that inside that same area in central PA, a 50%, I'm sorry, a 70 to 80% probability of at least 18.
Woo.
That's got to be some mountains over there that they're
That's
putting
like an
up those
Amish.
amounts.
That's like an
Yeah,
Amish
that's
country.
no, that's west of there. That's more towards
It's
Harrisburg.
west
isn't
of
it?
Harrisburg.
West of
Yeah, I
Harrisburg.
don't
Okay.
think no,
It's up
they're
towards
hills.
it's up
I don't
towards
think they're.
state. It's up towards State College.
Well, you're not going to. In order to get there, you have to
Yeah,
go through
they're.
Amish country, and I could just imagine what the Quakers are doing tonight.
Now, be nice. They could
Yeah,
be
elevations out there around 2,000, 2,500 feet. So yeah, there's
could
some
be
elevation.
watching the. They watch our show, Joseph.
Okay.
By the way, we are at 999 viewers right now with 1,003. We've gone over the 1,000 mark. I haven't done that since Hurricane. Well, we haven't done that together. I did it once with a couple of times with Hurricane Matthew. 1,000 concurrent viewers. That's just terrific. Thank everybody for being here and for your support. So, are those the New Year's Eve sound makers there? Oh, good
That's
Lord.
the 1,000 horn.
Is that what it is?
That's what it was.
All right. So,
For all those people who said, "When are you going to hit 1,000? When are you going to hit?" We did, however briefly. It's like watching the stock market now.
yes, exactly. Okay, so I'm going to see if it's in yet. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the HRRR model, it's just started, so we'll come back to it. The HRRR model at 0, 6, 12, and 18 hours is now out to 48 hours.
Yeah.
So exactly what we needed, another model to help us out or to confuse.
Oh, that's a great model. We use that in aviation a lot because it's so specific that the future radar is just phenomenal at times.
Does anybody ever look at the no gaps model anymore?
No. Joe, I don't. If you can, Joe, can you? Because we just got a bunch more super chat hits, and I missed a few of them. John Sachs just hit super chat. Mark G just hit super chat, and Kathleen Truddy just hit super chat.
Okay, I see Jason Schaefer. I see Robert Rousseau, and rolling down here a little bit more. Hang on, we got Benji Frenzy.
Yes, Benji Frenzy I got before. He wants the Nova Scotia weather.
Ruthless Goat.
Ruthless Goat.
Jason Kaplan.
We got him. So okay, we're all caught up. So we're all caught up. We're all caught up now.
Oh, okay.
Hey guys, how's the
Travis Maynard? That's Potter County. Jason Kaplan again. PDQ.
Yes, we got PDQ.
Okay.
Can you show the LFM model?
Yeah. Well, I got the. Let's start with the. What do you want to start with? The GFS, the NAM, the new NAM's not out for another 45 minutes.
The 18D GFS.
You want to start with the GFS?
Yeah.
Okay. The GFS is, and it's up. This was the run from late this afternoon, and you see the big high to the north. Your low, it's actually a weak low that goes into Kentucky, Tennessee. Another low analyzed down in the Northeast Gulf, and then what's going to become the main low is this one here. That's off the southeast coast. Come on, where's my little? There you go. This low here, right in there, that's right off the southeast coast, and that is going to try to move northward into this big high.
Yeah, look at the isobars. Look at the orientation.
Right, they're starting to turn slightly east-southeast.
Yeah.
Now here's a question for you. Now here's the GFS tomorrow night at 30 hours. Now tomorrow is gonna be a day, in my opinion, that, and all the young forecasters should do this, because the three of us did this throughout all our careers. Tomorrow is the kind of day that, in my opinion, it's a waste of time to look at the models for the most part. Get out your surface map.
Now casting.
Right, but get out your surface map plot those observations on there, plot the pressures, draw your own surface map, and what you want to look for is whether the high to the north, what if this is a couple of, I mean, I'm just as a what if, but what you look for is, if the high to the north, supposing the model is a little off in where it is, let's say if it's, you wind up when you plot it, you see that it's a little further to the west or a little further to the east, but if it was a little further to the west, maybe you'll see the isobars more easterly, and then the winds are coming more, say, 04 or 05. That could give you clues as to what areas may hold on to cold air longer. Again, tomorrow's what you want to be doing is you want to be looking at your surface observations and everything that those observations tell you, pressure falling rapidly, all of that, because that's what's going to give you a leg up on your forecast and to stay ahead of what could happen in case you have to raise numbers in some places or lower numbers in others.
Hey, I have something to show you. What is this? Can you see?
Hang on. Let me just let me bring this down and bring you back up on the three shot. So hang on 1 second. Okay. All right, we can see. What is that?
That's a U.S. Air Force QT diagram.
Oh, good Lord.
But you might want to look at the forecast soundings if you're near the coast, because it'll give you a tip off as to what may be falling. But we used to plot these by hand.
Were you ever, Joe, were you ever in Professor Getzelman's class for the
yes.
plotting of the TTAAs and the TTBBs?
Yes.
If somebody were to right now say your life depended upon plotting a TTAA or TTBB, I'd have to say,
yeah, no, exactly. You sign. Let me sign the life insurance form in the last will and testament now.
Yes.
Tori 7. I can't see if that's 7C38. Hitting super chat tonight. Watching from southeastern Massachusetts. Congratulations on 10,000 subscribers. I went over the 10,000 subscriber mark yesterday on YouTube, on my YouTube channel here. So if you're watching, hit the subscribe button with your Gmail account. On the chat board. Thanks for being here, by the way, and again, many thanks to everyone tonight that has thrown in some change in the tip jar. Okay, back to the maps. So the GFS has been consistently. Usually, this model likes to be the warmest, the warm one of the bunch, and it's been the cold one of the bunch. It actually on the late afternoon run. It still has parts of Long Island at 1 o'clock tomorrow morning in snow, while it's got that little stripe of the yellow there indicating heavy rain, or possibly it could even be sleet in there. Sometimes the model doesn't catch it well. And then after that, it tries to change it back. It looks like this is tomorrow. I'm sorry. Let me run this again. The timing was off here. So this is at 0Z tomorrow night. So this is at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Snow spreading into the Hudson Valley. Joe, you mentioned all the dry air around tomorrow, and I think the GFS kind of reflects that, the dry air trying to fight that snow off. And then at 1 a.m., it's got dark blue snow everywhere with a low in central Delaware. I think what you're going to look for tomorrow is on the observations. You want to look for a lot of S pluses, what we call S pluses, heavy snow reports in the dark blue. And just for you, Joe Rayo, I'm going to bring up the F Gen. Let's go. We want the 850 or the 700.
Go to the 700, and you'll see why I say that we've got a time frame of several hours, right around 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the morning for the heavy duty, because look where they have all of that energy coming in. You look at the one for 0Z, which is 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. They've got all of it developing down over the Delmarva area, and then 6 hours later, you jump to 1 a.m. Thursday morning, and
well,
bang,
that's what I have up now, 1 a.m. Thursday morning.
Right, and bang, we're right in it. And as I said, up until last night, all of that was just skimming the coastline, right along the coastal plain, never coming inland. And then finally last night, at long last, joining the NAM Club and a couple of other models, finally it pushed all of that into the lower Hudson Valley and Long Island and northern New Jersey. And along and in that area at 1 o'clock in the morning, that's where it's going to be S plus.
Now, do you
No
think
question about it.
two questions? Because a few people have asked me this in the last couple of days. With the Omega as impressive as it is, might we hear some thunder?
I think so.
Mm.
I think there's going to be a good amount of forcing, a good amount of lifting. Remember what we have here is a low pressure system trying to buck. As I used this analogy yesterday for all of you old time pro wrestling fans. Figure the big high to the north is the Haystacks Calhoun. He was a 600-pound wrestler, and this storm is Bruno Sammartino trying to push or lift that high out of the way. And
Uh,
in the struggle, so to speak, you're going to have all of that, what you see on the screen now, all of that omega, and that's where you're going to get all that S plus. And I would not doubt, Joe, that somebody is going to hear some rumbles of thunder.
Well,
I don't think the folks at SPC put general thunderstorms in our area. They kept it mostly along the coast of the south. But I still say, or I would maintain that, yeah, there could be some rumbles of thunder or maybe a flash or two of lightning late tomorrow night with this system.
mhm.
well, let's
And
look at
look where it all is by 7 a.m. 6 hours later. Look where it has all moved into. It has moved way offshore, east of Cape Cod. It's very rapid. So that's why
yes.
we're gonna make hay. If we're gonna do what we're gonna do with this, it's gonna be like maybe 1-2 inches, maybe 3 inches an hour
For about
several
for
hours.
several hours. I mean, that
Yeah,
might be look, that might be enough for some places in a situation like this to put down the bulk of the snow that's going to fall is going to come with that, and if you get in it, you're going to get clobbered. It's
and
going to
notice also at 7 a.m. I mean, nothing like what we have at 1 a.m., but there's a little bit of energy still moving through at 7, and then
right.
you jump to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and there's still a bit over Long Island. So what's probably going to happen is the heavy duty snows tomorrow night, but then on Thursday, I think the first half of the day there'll be some intervals of light snow and flurries and light snow and maybe a poke of sun and light snow. And we're going to have to wait until probably the afternoon before we really begin to get into a true clearing trend, although all the mayhem is going to be pretty much confined to the overnight hours tomorrow night.
By the way, the 850 is, again, there are things here that make me very nervous in both directions. The 850 is cold, Joe. At 1 o'clock in the morning, it's the zero at 850. It's actually -3 at 850 along the south shore of Long Island, and at 7 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, it's still -3. The zero has come up to about Tom's River in New Jersey, and then goes out straight to the east. You wonder. I just wonder whether, again, as I said earlier, there's always in these storms somebody gets a surprise, and I just wonder whether something's going to happen tomorrow somewhere that we're going to look back at this time on Thursday and
Why didn't we see that?
talk
Why
about
didn't
the
we see that
unusual
on
nature of
Tuesday?
it.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It just really it's just on my mind. The I'll go back to the surface here. You can see the close up. Whoops. Hang on a second. It's loading as we speak. You can see on the radar presentation of the GFS the snow coming in at 7 o'clock, and then you get that dark blue snow, and of course the convective stuff that's just along the south shore. Your low center is in Delaware Bay, which is a little. We've been struggling with the models of the last few days, either putting it in Chesapeake Bay or along the Delaware coast. Today's runs were a little further north and carried it to Delaware Bay, and then it starts to eject the low to the. And actually, the low stretches because it occludes out, and you get probably a redevelopment at the point of
Yeah.
occlusion, which is let me just get this pen. So it's right over here. You're probably going to have some kind of low reforming there, and then everything just flies out. So
Bill, I want to ask you, Bill. You mentioned the LFM before. I mean, isn't it amazing what we have at our disposal now
Yes.
versus what we used to have to work with back in the late 70s with the 2-dot LFM and a
Mhm.
couple of the quote primitive equation or PE maps.
Yeah.
You know, and trying to go much beyond 3 days was surely like guesswork or educated guess. And now you've got all these models, multi-technicolor. You got everything at your disposal. In some cases showing you what may happen 15 days out. It says things have changed really tremendously over the last 30 or
Yeah.
40 years.
By
I
the
think
way,
saying may happen, excuse me, may happen is the word here, because I've always said that when you look into these computer models, with time, they should be blurrier. They make the 15-day forecast look as precise
I
as the 6-hour
I
forecast. I
know,
know that's baloney.
I
So
know.
it should be like you need glasses when you get out to 15 days, just a blur.
Yeah,
That's how weather is.
that's a great description of how the long range, how you should approach the long range as
Well,
this blur.
with increasing numbers now, you're beginning to see the television stations convert over from 7 to 10-day outlooks. And
Yeah.
I wonder how many of those 10-day outlooks, like 8 or 9 days ago, had this storm on the radar 10 days out. I doubt very much if any of them had that. I really wish we would actually go backwards and confine ourselves to a 5-day forecast, because that's really, once you go beyond 5 days, and I've said this over and over again, once you go beyond 5 days, it really is, you're really taking your chances trying to forecast what's going to
Yeah,
happen.
do we really need to look 10 days ahead? And who can remember it anyway? Can you
Exactly.
memorize 10 days worth of numbers and icons? No, you can't.
And you know what? Nobody's forecasting it. They're gonna let the machinery do it. So
That's
what's the point? What's the point, Joe? I got the this is the European Thursday morning on the Omega at 8:50. I thought
Wow, I never. Where did you get that from?
that's on
Tidbit?
Tropical Tidbits. I think he added it to it. He's got the 850
Really?
FGen, yeah. But the problem is, it's every 24 hours, so we only see
Yeah.
we see it from Wednesday morning. Interestingly enough, when I look at the isotherms here at Wednesday morning at 8:50, this is what I'm talking about. This is the wedge. That the cold air with the high building southward and wedging that cold air into east of the Appalachians, and again, uh, how much of that cold air gets dislodged, we don't know. And then, of course, the Omega is gone. The European, by the way, for those of you, I could pull it up on Pivotal Weather. So let's do that. Let's pull it up on Pivotal
But even
Weather.
what you just showed, Joe, with the Omega on the European joins in with all the other models, having that bulk, that lion's share of energy off to our east and north by daybreak on Thursday morning. So that again, that tells you that what we're going to get out of this is all going to come tomorrow night. Many of you who might go to bed early, you might sleep through the whole thing, because when you wake up on Thursday morning, I'm not saying it's not going to be snowing on Thursday morning, but the stuff that's really going to crank out all of the big accumulations that you've been hearing about is going to happen when all of that energy is overhead, again, in the late evening to early morning hours of Wednesday night, Thursday morning.
So I've got Pivotal Weather's surface map for tomorrow evening. This is the European, with the low in northeastern North Carolina. You see all those isobars north and east. The snow. The European is faster with bringing precip here. I don't know how you feel about this, Joe. It's got it already up into central Connecticut and up the Hudson Valley. Now, how much of that's reaching the ground? That's supposed to be that is supposed to be measurable precip that's being indicated. So at least the European says this stuff is reaching the ground, and you can see that the purple being sleet, just shaving the south shore of Long Island, cutting New Jersey down the turnpike into southwest Jersey, northern Delaware, and on up into northern Maryland. And I'll move to the next map for 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, this is going to be the time where we're going to have all this Omega going on. And the European, it just kind of has that sleet line stuck. Still some areas of Long Island with the dark blue, New Jersey, northern New Jersey in the dark blue, and the European has this purple area in north central PA. That's all heavy snow that's being indicated there. That's not sleet up there, that's heavy snow. Meanwhile, you see the rain, central New Jersey on south down to Delaware, it's heavy rain. The low center is in the northern part of Chesapeake Bay.
Look where that low is. Come on, when lows track inland, what does it do here in New York City, Long Island? It's almost impossible.
Well, you know what? Maybe the fact that it's that far west. It's that far west
Well,
that it's the high that's keeping it from changing faster. That's what I'm thinking here. But the high is strong enough to keep the snow from changing quickly. but it's not strong enough to suppress this and just shove it out further to the east, or at least to
No,
do it in time.
you know what I think is going to happen, Joe and Bill? I think this is going to be the equivalent of meteorological flea flicker play. I think what you're seeing there at 1 o'clock in the morning is a low in Delaware Bay, but I think
Yeah.
it's going to toss its energy to yet another system. Notice how
Right.
the isobars are kind of stretching out or
It's
elongating
showing that, yeah.
off to the east.
Yeah.
So
Well, and you see it now, and you'll see the map. I've jumped over to Thursday morning. There's a leftover low center closed isobar that is right near Atlantic City, but a newly reformed low is out well to the east at
Oh, yeah.
roughly
yeah, yeah.
39 and a half and 72. So not too far from Ship Hotel. When was the last time you heard somebody mention Ship
Ship
Hotel?
Hotel.
Remember?
What was it on the Foos? 7TB, I think.
I believe so.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Oh
Um,
God, all
all right,
of this
so
stuff is coming back, coming, all this stuff from 40 years ago and 30 years ago is coming back into my head.
Old
Uh,
fart weather.
by the way, on the upper air, which I'm bringing up the upper air of the European, we talked about this last night about the fact that if the upper air were to remain, but you have a good, decent shortwave, but it's not, you don't have a closed upper low that forms. The upper air has a bit of a fractured look to it. Well, guess what? The models they had it, then they had the fractured look. The GFS had the fractured look all along. Then yesterday, all of them had the fractured look. Well, guess what? There's a closed upper low sitting right over New York City on Thursday morning, and I think that is the problem.
Wow.
If we go to one of the other models that has, we can go to the NAM, for example. If we go to the NAM 500, so we can see every 3 hours the evolution of that closed upper low. I think that's the reason that you're seeing the surface low getting pulled as far west as it is, because it's closing off this low, and that's kind of pulling in that low further west than it otherwise would be. And then that upper low goes right over New York City and into southern New England.
See, I've been saying for the last few days, I said this looks like an open wave just rippling through the closed low. Now that's a new monkey wrench in the proceedings here.
The HRRR model, we can go ahead with the HRRR model. It's out to 29 hours. Okay, so let's take a look at what little adventure it has for us. I'm going to go tight. Bill, you said you're a fan of the HRRR model, and
Yes.
the model, the HRRR had a stretch though over the spring and summer where it didn't seem to really do very well. But
Well, I'm looking at short term again, aviation use, because it has data that's plugged in every hour, including
right.
radar, pilot reports, things like that. So yeah, 6-9 hours. That's where I like it.
Snow gets to New York City at 4 o'clock. I'll run it back. It gets to Washington, D.C. at around
10,
11 a.m. Philadelphia at about 1 p.m. It's raining in the southern half of New Jersey. And then you start to see colder air. Some of that rain changes to snow on the northern flank there. And then you've got the snow area expanding just outside New York City at 3 o'clock. Actually, it's into the city at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And by 5 o'clock, all of Long Island is covered, southwest Connecticut. So it's a little bit faster. We're snowing 8. This is at 7 o'clock. The darker blue snows are in there. Northern half of New Jersey. See, here's the cold air. For the folks that are in central Jersey, you can watch how that starts off as rain, and then the blue area kind of pushes south a little bit. Another example of that cold high trying to wedge down and keep the cold air to the south and keep it locked in. So now we're at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. There's sleet. That sleet gets into south central, southeast PA down into Maryland, and it actually, this is weird. That's got to be sleet there. I have to believe that it comes up on the west side of the low center and just pushes in other words, northwest New Jersey changes to sleet before Long Island and the rest of New Jersey changed to sleet.
Well, you know
Wow.
why, Joe?
Go ahead. Why? Tell me.
Backdoor warm front.
Oh, good Lord.
But in a way, if you think about it, maybe that's if the counterclockwise flow going around the low, sweeping that warm air all the way around the circulation and coming back up and around, that might have something to do with it. I don't know.
It is, but it is very bizarre. It's not often that you see a changeover to sleet occur in northern New Jersey and even in the Hudson Valley while Long Island is snowing, and that's got to be because of that high to the north wedging down. Finally, by now it goes out. We have it out to midnight, and you're finally starting to see some sleet mixing, but at least for Long Island. But it's snowing, and you got those darker blue bands, so you know that that's got to be heavy snow. I'm gonna bring up the total precip. Let's see if that's out to 29 hours too, which it is. So it generates. Yeah, it's pretty impressive, Joe. Look at Joe and Bill. They half an inch of liquid in that stretch.
Well, that's and
Interesting.
depending upon how cold. And again, I didn't bring this up. I was going to bring it up, but I mean the ratios. A lot of people were talking. I even saw a National Weather Service office. I think it was either in Albany or Boston, talking about, well, we may not get quite as much as the folks to the south, but remember, we're going to be colder, so the ratio up here will probably be more like 12 to 15 to 1 instead of the 10 to 1. But I think it's just better broad brushing everybody with a 10 to 1 ratio with this, because to get even like 12 or 15 to 1, you'd have to have these temperatures like in the mid or low 20s, and when the snows are coming down hot and heavy. And I at least in the immediate New York area, I think it's going to be more like upper 20s to around 30, or out toward Long Island, maybe even low 30s. So,
by the way, you're going to see it come up now. I'm bringing up the 2-meter air temperature, and I'm just running it during the day tomorrow and into tomorrow night. And again, we only have through midnight. There's still more maps to come in yet, but take a look at that the last blue line. It's a little easier to see than the dash line, which is the 32-degree line. Just watch how I'm going to start from the beginning here. So we're moving through the overnight. The 30-degree line, how it has it goes up, then comes back down tomorrow evening, and it barely budges. And now we're at the 34 hours. Look at that. And then and look what's happening in New Jersey. That the cold air started to come in on the backside and sweeping across southern New Jersey there as the low starts to pull away to the east.
Some of the models, Bill, that we used to look at and Joe too, from like 20 or 30 years ago, which would project, oh, it's going to get much warmer here, and we'd all fall for it and go for rising temperatures or temperatures going well above the freezing mark. And in the interim, it never did get that because it was very poor on catching cold air damming. And so here we are, we're predicting temperatures like maybe rising to 40 or above. And meanwhile, the temperatures are still struggling just to make it to above 30. And it's remaining cold, and we're getting sleet and ice and snow instead of the changeover to rain.
Yeah, we've come a long way, that's for sure. And that's good and bad. It's great that we can make these predictions, but I think we've backed ourselves into a corner where people expect often too much of the weather forecast, that there's still this variability that rears its ugly head. This is not like engineering where you're building a building and you can test the tensile strength of steel. This is Mother Nature in a very, very complicated process.
But you learn from your mistakes. I mean, you learn eventually. And I remember at CBS, Joe, I don't know if he ever showed this to you, Alan Casper came up with a sheet of different, the failings and the strengths of the various models.
Oh, wow.
And after over and over, seeing it happen over and over and over again and forecasting and never seeing it actually verify, you learn. You say, oh, look at this. The model's doing it again. Now no way it's going to get warm, or no way it's going to stay cold, or whatever. And you learn from that. That's where, and I would tell all of you out there on the chat board right now who are contemplating maybe getting into atmospheric science or meteorology or forecasting, whatever, don't take what you see coming out of the machines, the various models. don't just automatically accept that, because they're not right all the time, and they do have
No.
their problems and everything else. And
You
using
need
them
to
as
look out the
guidelines,
window every once in a while.
but empiricism, that's the key to forecasting. That's why we old timers know a lot better
There's a
than
snowstorm going on, and they're looking at their computer models. Look out the
yeah,
window, for
yeah,
God's sake. Enjoy
Absolutely.
what you've been waiting for. And speaking of which, now, Bill, we're not fans of snowfall forecast maps, and I'm going to guess
Right.
that you're not a fan of it either.
Well, at
Uh,
some point you have to do it, but
no,
yeah,
no,
go
no.
ahead.
But I'm talking about the model-generated snowfall.
Oh, yeah.
But I will at least, since this is the HRRR, and we're talking about something that's 30 less than 36 hours. I'm
Yeah.
guessing that the model is just kind of translating, might not be too far off. So if you believe the HRRR's profile of what's going to happen precipitation wise, you can see where it puts the big snows, the heavy snows. That this is through 5 a.m. on Thursday.
That's fairly consistent
That
with
actually
everything else.
doesn't. These numbers don't. These numbers actually match up, I think, fairly well with what could be possible
Yeah.
out of this, and still showing some robust snowfalls down central Jersey, Long Island, certainly Connecticut doing well, the Hudson Valley, down to southeast PA, northern Maryland. We're only going to know in the fullness,
Yeah.
tomorrow night whether the what seems to be a colder looking HRRR is going to be correct or not.
I'm a big fan of persistence, and what I'll do is I'll take screen grabs of, say, this graphic, but I'll start a few days ago, whatever we're looking, and I compare them, and you can see where the models are trending. And if they're
Right.
consistent, you know that they got a good grasp on it. If everything is moving around, then you have to realize that these things have no idea what's going on.
Okay, so let me just tell you, by the way, we are 7 hours. I'm sorry, we are out 7 hours on the new NAM. So while the NAM is loading up, we can, you know what time it is, Joe, Rayo. What time is it?
it's 9 o'clock. No, it's 8:42.
It's 8:42 Eastern time. And what model can we look at 8:42 Eastern time? If it's on time, we should be able to see.
Which? Oh, the GFS?
No,
The
Oh,
GFS?
no.
not the NAM, you
Ed,
said?
Ed
Huh?
Norton's favorite model.
Ed Norton's favorite model?
Ed Norton's.
The
Ed
sewer model?
No, but who did Ed Norton say invent?
Oh, de la
Le
plume.
Plumes. Le
What?
Oh,
Yes,
Bill, you don't know Le
la plume.
Plumes?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
This is the SREF model, the SREF from Stony Brook, and
Oh, okay.
you've never seen the plumes?
I used to look at Stony Brook stuff a lot, and in the last few years I never went over there
Well,
again.
they have this graphical representation of all the model members, and then they plot it out on this chart. You'll see it up there,
Okay.
and it's called the plumes. But
Ah,
we make fun of it by
please.
using Ed Norton with Pierre Francois Delabriowski. Le plumes,
The
you
man,
know, when
the
he goes
man
into
who,
that speech.
the man
Uh,
who, the man who Ed Norton thought built the sewers of Paris, and then he found out later on, much to his chagrin, that he condemned them.
and he
So
was
what am I
not
looking
happy.
at here? What is this thing
Okay,
showing?
so what you're seeing here is a graphical representation of a certain geographical location. And if you look you see those blue boxes with check marks in them there?
Hmm.
Okay, so those are all the member models of this. I think there's 26 of them.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And you can actually go in there and manually check which one models you want or which ones you don't want, and it'll plot 3 hourly temperature, 3 hourly dew point, CAPE, QPF, total QPF, and what I
Wow.
have it set to up here, one of the choices is total snow. So when
Oh,
you run your mouse over these points, a little box comes up and it tells you how many inches that model produced. The dark black line is the average. Okay, so this is, let me just check the time on this. This is the 15Z run. So we're going to be looking for the 21Z run, and it usually comes out around 9. This comes out like 9 a.m., 9 p.m., 3 p.m., 3 a.m. So 4 times a day. And the way I've come to use the plumes is not. I don't necessarily look at the number as having value, but I look at the trend. Is it up from the previous run? Is the trend, is the model, are the numbers going higher? Are they going lower? They were the last couple of runs they went down a little bit. So the new run should be coming out, but it's going to be kind of hit and miss. If you go, then when you pull down on the screen, you go a little lower. There's a Google map there with all the points that you can click on. So
So what's the mean showing for the snowfall?
All right, so
Mean, max, and min on this one.
all right, I'm going to try and see if I can pull up any 21Z maps. I'm clicking on these points. You're going to see it there in a second because you're on with a screen delay with the map. Okay, so the 21Zs aren't in yet. So I'll go back to the 15Z. So let's go to the 15Z map. I will go down. I scroll down to that map. I'm going to click on the dot for islip. Okay, and the mean at islip, and along the bottom of the scale here is date and time, and on the left going up is number of inches. So islip, the mean is 4.69. Okay, wow. So that was actually up a little. No, that was down a little bit from the prior run. LaGuardia, the mean was 6.68 on the 15Z. Poughkeepsie was 15.38. Okay, Scranton was 16.11. So again, for me, the way I think that this model is most valuable is just to look at the trends to see if when we get the 21Zs, which hopefully will be out momentarily, and we start pulling up some points here, we'll see if the numbers went up or the numbers went down, because oftentimes it'll tip you off as to what the next model cycle is going to start producing. If it's warmer or colder or whatever, it might give you a clue as to what the next run of the model cycle is going to look like. So we're waiting for that. We've got the NAM out to 12 hours, so that's tomorrow morning. And at this point, precip, freezing rain in southwestern Virginia and into western North Carolina, raining in eastern Kentucky and Tennessee, snow western Ohio and much of the state of Indiana. Still got the big high to the north. We got to kill a little more time to get to the to get a little bit more of the NAM in. Let me just check the SREFs once again. And then while that's loading, I think maybe if the SREFs aren't in, we'll go and look a little bit of long range. Let's try this again. Let's see if anybody's in. White Plains, no. No. Reading, not yet. We're going to need a little more time with that. Okay. Let's go back to the GFS, and we'll take a look at the upper air and do a little long range. Bill, no one's going to yell rap in your ear. Just
oh, no.
No. I mean, it's the old television stuff.
Stop. How long do you go with this?
How much time do you have?
I don't know.
Our record, Joe, is what, 2 hours?
Oh. I don't want to do 2 hours.
For 2 hours. I'm enjoying having Bill here.
Oh, we love having Bill here. Just looking at the upper air. Go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt.
I mean, when Bill was on Rambling with Gambling, I'm sure he was long since asleep by this hour. Having to get up at about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And Bill used to. Bill, I know. I remember I once visited you at 1440 Broadway at WOR Studios there, and one Saturday morning, and then there was a situation where they said, "Hey, Bill, you could do all of this out of your house in Long Island." And so the Weather Center, the WR Weather Center, went from 1440 Broadway to North Merrick, right?
That's right. And we even had teletype machines. I regret not saving one. I donated them to a high school someplace when it was
Yeah.
over by actual teletype machine. And remember the old fax machines?
Oh God, yes. Where
Oh,
you used
God.
to risk cutting your wrist to change the helix blade.
I do.
God,
I do
yeah.
a lot of weather briefing, weather talks for pilots, and I start off with pictures of the 50s. Everything is black and white, and it's fax machines. And then I go to today with the computers whirring around, and no more of the crumpled up fax paper and everything. So it's been fun to see the transition from the ancient days to where we are now, and who knows where we'll be in another 20, 30 years.
Since we're on the subject, and since we can't get fired, now you're talking about the ancient days and the transitions that you've seen over time,
Yeah.
in all of that. I mean, the amount of change that's occurred has been just utterly incredible, and I fall back on the fact that I actually was part of the demise of several industries in the last 30 years. When you think about it, the way radio's changed,
Yes. Yeah.
the way television has changed, and of course the rise of platforms like YouTube and
This
Hulu and
stuff.
all the rest of it.
Yeah.
It's been mind blowing what's transpired in the last 30 to 40 years.
Yeah.
But
Morning TV is now what morning radio used to be. And
right,
morning radio now is pretty much gone. But the switch to this, so many people get their weather from here. That's it. What they see there is it. They don't care about anything else. So I don't know where this is going in the future, even though weather is probably more important to us now than ever because we're so dependent upon weather conditions. Once upon a time, 1800, a storm came through, you shoveled it away and went about your business. You didn't lose electricity. You didn't have it. Now our lives depend upon the weather and our reaction to it. And yet people are becoming less attuned to it and just looking on here.
you saw from the standpoint over time, and Joe, you also, with all your years in radio, and so did I. There was one point where I had 7 radio stations on Long Island that I was doing every day, plus New Jersey 101.5, and I remember that I lost those 6 Long Island radio stations were all bought by Clear Channel, and within 6 weeks I was off of all of them. There's I used to be able to tell kids try to get a job on radio. You can't. There aren't any for
Yeah.
weather. There really aren't. I mean, if
No.
you do have one, you're going to have to find a way to get paid, and usually that means you have to sell your own time.
Pretty
The
much
only
just
one
Craig
really-
Allen now. He's the only one locally, right? Craig is it on WCBS. There's nobody
You
else.
took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the only one really who still is doing it semi like the old-fashioned ways is Craig Allen. I kid Craig sometimes. I said, you're the Cal Ripken now of
Yeah.
New York weather. I mean, he has been on now for something like 40 years. Before him, there was Elliot Abrams. Elliot Abrams finally retired last year after 50 years
Wow.
in AccuWeather and in the New York metropolitan area. And Craig now is working on a 40-year string, and
Yeah.
he's amazing. But after Craig, I really don't know. We have a station up here in the Hudson Valley that's served by AccuWeather, WHUD, and they took over from a company called Fleet Weather. That had been on that station for a good number of years. Now it's AccuWeather, and they have Joe Lundberg from AccuWeather, and Joe Lundberg is on for exactly maybe 30 or 40 seconds. Even in a critical situation like that, they might give him a little bit more time. But he's on. He reads the weather and he's off. It's not like the old days where you would tune in and listen to somebody like Bill or a Bob Harris or Joel Myers or whatever for 2 or 3 minutes in a discussion. They don't want to deal with that anymore. The radio stations, want you in, give the information, and out so they can do 3 or 4 more commercials that they can jam in, make more money.
But I'm sorry, just really quick. I just want to acknowledge there's that phone again.
That's me. It's another weather guy, Steve Teeling.
Oh, get rid of him.
Hold on, I'm doing a YouTube here with Joe Rayo and Joe Cioffi. Okay.
Give him
okay.
tell him what the appearance fee is.
How much do I have to pay you? Is that the idea?
Exactly. We did waive the
And Steve,
inconvenience fee, just so you know.
Steve,
No, just want to.
Steve is probably asking you, Bill. You know, when it snows tomorrow night, can I come over to your house and stay over?
Yeah, he
Right.
does. We do that. Absolutely. So he doesn't have to drive up to Connecticut.
Yeah, that's a killer.
Just want to acknowledge Vicky, Digger, Joshua, and Seth Darling, all hitting super chats tonight.
Seth.
And
Hey, Seth, thank you. Seth
yes,
is an Air Force buddy and News 12 fill-in guy.
and I've seen him on the chat board and on my weather page. I think every so often too. And
he said he's working. Excuse me. He said he's working Thursday morning at LaGuardia as the observer.
That's
another job.
You'll have fun.
Observation. That's Seth.
He'll have fun. And also just sort of a big hello and a thank you, of course, to the chairman, Scott Briller, who is working tonight. He's once again, he's out on his COVID runs, delivering to those who need. And we hope that he just stay safe and be very careful. The chairman's one of our. I nicknamed him the chairman. He's on almost every day. And he's usually the first one on the chat board every day. And we do, we're not doing it. We don't have it tonight because he's been working, but we usually do our own version of, we call it Briller Jeopardy. And we run through some weather trivia questions, and sometimes outside the category of weather. And also JPTR2A. Hitting super chat as well. So all big thank yous to you, to those who I just mentioned, and to those that I mentioned before. There's a whole lot of you that hit super chat tonight, and we want to say thank you very, very much for doing that. It's a lot of liquor for Joe and I.
And I think Joe, that the fact that Bill is here tonight is one of the reasons why we jumped from 665 last night, finally hitting over 1,000 tonight.
Wow.
Bill,
I think we got. I saw 1125 at the high, so I wasn't looking at the screen all the time. But who knows? Maybe we pushed it up toward the 1200 mark.
I see a neighbor from when I was a kid on here, Kenny Rayer. He lived across the street from me in East Meadow when I was growing up. Hey, Kenny.
How cool is that?
That's amazing.
I just want to say, Bill, Bill is probably one of the most modest people that I know. And when he retired, and he couldn't believe he was getting like thousands of different messages from people and likes from people, wishing him well on his retirement or whatever. And Bill was just saying, I don't believe it. I can't believe all these people just came and hit that. But Bill, you have to understand, you were an icon to many people for many years, both on television and also. What did you like better? Did you like doing radio with John Gambling, or did you like doing television with folks on News 12? Or
I liked them both at the time. WR, the gambling show, was the #1 show in New York, and it was big time, big city stuff. But TV was a lot of fun too, and that's what I miss, the fun, because what people don't see, especially what we had here in the island, we had a great group, and the anchors and all the people, we just had a lot of fun together. During commercials, you'd die if you knew what was going on. But that I miss the people, but they were both a lot of fun. They really were.
And it was great to, I was, as I said at the top of the show, I mentioned the fact that you and I first met in 1977 at the Weather Watcher party in Fort Lee. And I was one of Bill's, I really wasn't a weather watcher, but whenever something astronomical was coming up, like an unusual eclipse or an aurora borealis or something, I'd usually get on the line and tell you, and you'd spread it out. You'd tell everybody on WOR, and you said, this is from one of our weather watchers, Joe Rayo. And I was only in my early 20s, and it's still in college back then. And it seems so weird now, all of these years later. Yeah, I mean, here Joe and I are elder statesmen talking to the master. The
used to be the place to go for school closings. We closed a lot of schools. That's how people remembered the gambling show mainly.
And also, you don't get to be popular without having one of these.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
You have one too.
Bill Korbel bobblehead.
There you go. I better not see that on eBay.
Oh, you probably, you'd be amazed what you find on eBay. Yeah, this is great.
That was from News. That was
I
the
like
Long Island Ducks. Yeah.
I like the box almost as good as the actual bobblehead, because they
Yeah.
really made a nice packaging for your bobblehead. And I have one.
I know. There you go. There you go. There you go. Yeah, my
Uh,
biggest, never got an Emmy, anything like that, but I got a bobblehead, and that was pretty good. Oh, what else?
I got the I got the Emmy. I got the Emmy, but I don't have the bobblehead.
Oh,
And I'll tell you something. I'd rather have the bobblehead.
yeah.
Ryan Ford, Johnny Quest hitting the super chat. Also, Ryan is an aspiring young meteorologist to be. So we
Good luck.
I talk to Ryan often, and he's an up and comer. And Johnny Quest is also one of our big regulars here, who lives 3,000 feet up in the mountains of Northern Virginia.
Ah,
So he gets clobbered up there at 3,000 feet. He mentioned one of the snow years back. I forgot which one. He said back in the maybe it was 2010 or 2011 or 2000. Man, I think it was 2009, and he had 200 inches for the season up where he is at 3,000 feet. Hey, guess what's in? Les plumes. So we could look at the plumes. And islip, I only pulled up, that was the first one I got, and actually it's up to 6.77 from 4, what did we say before, 4.5, so now it's 6 3/4 on the new SREF. Let's see if LaGuardia is not in, White Plains is not in, Capixie is in.
Pepsi.
Poughkeepsie is now at 17.3.
Ooh.
So they went up. Let's go down to, let's see if Philadelphia's in.
I have a feeling you're not going to be flying into Poughkeepsie tomorrow night, Bill.
No, not tomorrow. Plane stays in the hangar.
Philadelphia, come on. Nope. Philly's done. Wilmington, Delaware, not yet. They seem to be coming in piecemeal. Reading, Lancaster, no. Scranton, no. Oh, Scranton is in. Scranton is, oh my, 19.7 at Scranton. I guess there are going to be big tomorrow, but not here. Hartford, nope, not yet in Hartford. Let's look at maybe East Hampton. Nope.
I noticed on the chat board somebody just hit super chats. Joe's Weather Channel.
Yes, he's a new regular here.
Oh, okay. You can never have too many Joes.
No. Now here's something interesting. Block Island. Block Island gets 3.27 inches on the mean.
Sounds reasonable. Maybe mostly on the backside.
Well, yeah, could be right. Could be mostly on the backside. So it looks like from the stations that we were able to pull up on Les Plumes that the SREF numbers are going up. The NAM is still only out to 18 hours. So let's go back to the HRRR, which has now finished its 48-hour cycle, so we can get the last vestiges of this storm here. So there's, again, just a review. You see the snow area. This is at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening.
Click refresh, Joe. Now the NAM is up to 29 hours.
Oh, okay.
Right. I got to 30, yeah.
Okay, good. I'll go back now. So here's the HRRR. Goes over to Sleet there right along the coast. It's got an interesting outcome with how it handles this low. And then, of course, it pulls away. Still a little bit of precip left on eastern Long Island at noon on Thursday. And then, of course, it goes on out. So let's go back to the NAM. And we've got out to 29 hours. So that takes us to into the critical time frame tomorrow night. And, all right, let's roll it back. Let's see what it's got. Okay, so this is at 5 o'clock tomorrow 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Snow is advancing to western Long Island, all of New Jersey, New York City. 7 o'clock tomorrow night, the dark blue snow, central Jersey, southeast PA. uh, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, dark blue snow, northern New Jersey, Long Island, Connecticut, the Hudson Valley, 11. And then it starts to change to sleet at midnight in Nassau County, New York City, and then north of 195, but south of Route 78 in New Jersey, southeastern PA, and that's as far as we've gotten. So
I notice also how it's beginning to, the isobars are stretching out. They have the low positioned just off the Delmarva, but you can see how it's trying to translate to a second system now that's about 150 miles further east.
it's not putting a low up in northern Chesapeake Bay.
No.
It's a little flatter actually with from the prior run. It doesn't seem to be as amped up as the prior runs were. I think the other question, Joe, is given all that omega that we were showing earlier, how much there's a chance in that 5 or 6 hour period that there could be a pretty solid thumping of snow out of this.
Yes, no question.
Yeah.
And especially if indeed, as I said in the flea flicker of the of one storm, tossing its energy to another, more to the east, that in the process of doing that, there probably will be some rumbles of thunder, because the benchmark of an intensifying storm or a storm that transfers energy tends to be lightning and thunder. And if you get lightning and thunder, and if you're underneath that system, tomorrow night, you may get a nice little thump of a couple of 3 inches an hour out of that.
We're back. By the way, I have us back up full screen. I just want to also acknowledge John Colombe, whose question I asked earlier from one of my regulars on my subscription weather platform on Patreon. Of course, we said Joe's Weather Channel hitting super chat tonight, and thanking us for what we're doing here. And what we're doing here is having a lot of fun, which is a good thing.
And before
let me just finish these super chats, Joe. Griffin Klein, any chance of the storm coming inland in Maine? Which reminds me, we got to look at Nova Scotia.
I don't think that's good. I don't think it's going to come inland in Maine. It's
No.
going to kind of stay parallel to Long Island, maybe about 100 or 150 miles south of Long Island, and more or less take that track into the general vicinity of 4070. So obviously, if it's heading for 4070, unless it makes an incredible turn by 90 degrees.
No, it passes well south and east of Nova Scotia. I mean, some snow gets into central and southern Maine, but the heavy snows stay well offshore. And some snows get into Nova Scotia. And I know we promised, I'm sorry, I forgot his name, that wanted an idea of how much snow was going to fall in Nova Scotia. I'll just quickly bring up the map of Canada here, and their snowfall map, and off the GFS. And let's see, where is it? Total snowfall.
Well, as I said, just taking a quick guess, looking at a quick perusal of the maps. This is a while ago when that person asked that question. I said, it looks like a few inches. It doesn't look like a crippling storm like what we're talking about here, but you get close enough to the storm so that they'll get some kind of snow out of it.
Yeah,
at least in western and central Nova Scotia.
The map is the map that's up here is in centimeters, so it's giving amounts 8-10 centimeters. So that's about 3 or 4 inches.
Right.
Yeah, so that makes total sense. For the low, the way it's moving, it's actually going to pass south of Nova Scotia by a fair distance, but it still grazes you with some nice accumulating snows. So now we're back up on the 3-shot.
And before we part company, there was one thing I did not mention with Don. I want to mention now is that he is also was the forecaster for a couple of years for Air Force One. Is that correct, Bill? Or
I was in Andrews, a long time ago. That's it's more important to me now than it was then. You just kind of took it as part of the job. But imagine a 25-year-old kid forecasting for Air Force One.
And who was the president at the time? Johnson or?
Nixon.
Nixon. Okay.
Ricardo. Yeah. It was fun to see them outside. It was not like it is today, but it was part of an interesting career. I've been very lucky, and I enjoyed being with you guys tonight.
And somebody just asked the executive producer from upstairs.
Okay, what she want?
Passed me this question. Someone is asking, what kind of plane does Bill fly?
I am part of a group of 4 people. We own a Cirrus SR-22. You can look it up. Cirrus sounds like a cloud. SR-22.
And I want to tell you, Bill, you've said on many occasions, well, we're in the neighborhood, come on up. I'll take you for a fly up there. And I've always kind of like passed on that. I've got this thing about smaller planes as opposed to commercial flights. However, the executive producer upstairs says that if she ever gets the chance, she'll be very glad to fly with you.
I'll take Renata then. Yeah. Once this COVID thing is done and I get up to the Poughkeepsie, pick you up.
Yeah.
All right. Bill, thank you so much for taking the time out and coming on the show. We had a wonderful time. We loved having you, and we certainly would love having you again. We won't even bring up the inconvenience fee anymore.
And I won't bring up my appearance fee, so
Right.
we're even.
We'll waive everything, and once all this COVID stuff goes away, we have to get together somehow. So
absolutely.
I'll be looking.
That's what you learn about this thing. Go see people you know and love, and don't say someday we'll get together.
Absolutely.
Go out and do it when you can.
Absolutely. And you're welcome here anytime. If there's any time you want to come on, just let either of us know, and we'd love to have you again.
Sounds good.
All right. So just don't go away. I just got to do a couple of things.
I do have to go away.
No, I understand, but just let me close the show. So,
okay.
Folks, thanks all of you for being here. It's been wonderful to have to break over 1,000 viewers, 516 likes. Thank you so much, all of you that have hit Super Chat tonight. Thank you. For Joe and I do appreciate it greatly. And we want to also remind everybody that with a winter storm around, get to Omni True Value Hardware, Long Island's largest rock salt provider and a provider of everything you need when it comes to cleaning up with these winter storms. This one just the first one of the season, and you may find that your shovel is broken. Well, they got plenty of shovels. They got ice melt and pellets, calcium chloride pellets from Petalo, mag ice pellets, geomelt, biomelt, and even if the day comes where a winter storm knocks your power out, you can pick up a generator at Omni True Value Hardware, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, 631-756-1125. OmniTrueValue.com is the website. So, Mr. Rayo, we will see you tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern Time. When
it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep, we'll be
entering the twilight zone tomorrow at this hour.
We'll be going full force. If I really had the guts tomorrow, I would set myself up outside to do the live show. Because I do have a big overhang that I wouldn't get wet, but then I would get very cold, and I'm not doing that. By the way,
you notice it's a big event, though. You know how I know? Because I was watching Lonnie Quinn tonight on Channel 2.
Shirt sleeves.
Shirt sleeves.
Shirt
he's
sleeves.
got the sleeves all rolled up. So
Lonnie and I are very close, just so you know. He always asks my advice about what tie to wear, just so we're clear. And Lonnie knows because he watches us,
Well, we'd love to have him on too.
Yeah, we'd love to have Lonnie on. We've asked him to come on, but he's too busy with the chickens in the barn up where he lives.
Lonnie is in the studio at 7:00.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
But if we can get him on in the morning on Sunday, that would be great. But we'll see.
All right, Bill, thanks again, everybody. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern Time on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Nighty night.
Night night.